You are unbelievably wrong about the tomb. It is far from a forgettable filler experience, and in my opinion, this map is a top 2 zombies map of the last 7 years, and if you disagree, let me highlight the many strengths of the tomb and hopefully give you a newfound appreciation for this hidden gem. First of all, the atmosphere is absolutely stellar. Since Black Ops Cold War, Call of Duty has really struggled to nail down the atmosphere like they used to. In Black Ops 6, we have gotten some decent attempts, but none quite as awesome as the tomb. Liberty Falls looks nice and has grown on me over time. Terminus is cool, but feels like a watered down Zetsubo no Shima, and Citadel de Mor is epic, but missing some vibrant colors. But unlike these other BO6 maps, they actually knocked it out of the park with the tomb. For how small this map is, we have a great variety of atmospheres. The spawn room is mysterious and jam-packed with statues, artifacts, and other items you would expect near a dig site. From the spawn room, there are 2 pathways. The right side resembles the uneasy feeling of the Paris catacombs with skulls marking the walls and floors. The left pathway has many Greek statues and looks significantly more upkept. After following these hallways, they both loop around at the end to meet in my personal favorite location within the map, the temple. This spot is dark and mysterious with a hole from the surface shining light down upon the main portion. Overall, I just think this area looks spectacular, especially with the towering monoliths and waterfall that you need to jump over to get past. After going through the temple, the only location left on the map is the Dark Ether, which also looks amazing. The beautiful greenery blends nicely with the purples and blues in the sky, and I might add, Treyarch finally tried with the skybox. Every other map in BO6 has an underwhelming skybox that pales in comparison even to older maps like Die Rise, but they finally made something beautiful with the tomb. Also, I've seen many people mention that the skybox on the tomb looks horrible and that it looks way lower quality than similar skyboxes like Revelations, but I personally think that's stupid. Yes, Revelation's skybox looks a little better and feels more in depth, but that doesn't mean the tomb skybox is bad. It's a great step in the right direction. The Dark Ether is finally used in an interesting way, depicting stars lighting up the sky with beautiful blues and purples. Another part of the tomb's art style that deserves recognition is just how diverse it is, especially for a small map. The spawn room, the temple, and the Dark Ether feel very unique from each other, which makes travel around the map much more visually pleasing. Truly, my only downside with the atmosphere of the tomb is coloring and saturation. In my opinion, every Black Ops 6 Zombies map would benefit from a slight color adjustment, making the maps a bit brighter and colorful, similar to the art style of Black Ops 3 or Black Ops 4. In general, the importance of layouts in zombie maps are often overlooked. A bad layout could mean that the map is difficult to travel across, maybe making it almost impossible to revive your teammates if they down on the other side of the map. So far, Black Ops 6 Zombies has been absolutely amazing with designing the layout of their maps. Liberty Falls and Terminus were designed well, but lacked some cohesion that Citadel de Mor and the tomb nailed. So, what makes the layout of the tomb so amazing? As I described earlier, the tomb is basically a 2-lane map that loops around into the temple, and teleporters are used to get into the Dark Ether. Now, the layout is so good because you can get to any place on the map very quickly, mostly because there's a teleporter to and from the Dark Ether in the main 4 sections of the map. The spawn, the catacombs, the tombs, and the temple each have a teleporter, making travel throughout the map seamless and fun. I will say, the smaller a map is, the easier it is to create a strong layout, but either way, the tomb's design is amazing. Now, everything I've said up to this point is pretty agreeable. I think most people enjoy the atmosphere of the map and understand the simple but efficient layout. However, the Easter egg and everything that comes with it is where I truly think many of you are deeply wrong. From start to finish, this is the best Easter egg in Black Ops 6 Zombies, and here's why. The ice staff is absolutely amazing. Yes, we have seen it before, but that map came out 13 years ago, and I'm fine to use it again, especially since it's the best wonder weapon in Black Ops 6 so far. In general, BO6 wonder weapons have been on the weaker side, and even though I love using the swords and the jet gun, the real wonder weapons of this game have been the mutant injections and chopper gunners. So thankfully, for a map that takes place mostly inside, we have a wonder weapon that can shred through zombies. Now, going back to the jet gun, a common complaint I've heard from the community is that the ice staff was already great on Origins, so why bring it back? Their argument is that the jet gun was trash on Transit, so fixing it on Liberty Falls was acceptable, whereas the ice staff had no reason to come back. Honestly, this is a fair argument. Just like anyone else, I almost always prefer original content over reused ideas, but that doesn't mean I'm entirely opposed to them either. I'd be lying to say I was stoked for the ice staff to make its return, but now that it's in the map, I think it fits fairly well. The ice staff finally brings us a powerful wonder weapon which we haven't seen from BO6 yet, and we already knew the gameplay of it was going to be great since we've used it before. And even though it is reused, it still has a unique earn and upgrade quest, as well as a new special ability, being able to revive your teammates. And for those of you that love to complain about reused wonder weapons, think about how many times Treyarch has reused old ones in your favorite games. For example, the Apothecon Servant appeared in both Shadows of Evil and Revelations as the main wonder weapon. The Winter's Howl was on 5, Black Ops 1 Verrucht, and Classified. The Thunder Gun was on Kino der Toten, Ascension, Black Ops 1 Nocturne Toten, Revelations, and Tag der Toten. The Wonderwaff DG2 appeared on Shino Numa, Der Reese, Call of the Dead, and The Giant. And there are even more than that, which does not include the Ray Gun and Ray Gun Mark II, which almost every Zombies map has at least one of them. I say all of this because reused wonder weapons have always been a thing, and for some reason the ice staff coming back after over a decade makes the tomb boring. If the next map had an unoriginal wonder weapon, then I'd probably be a bit upset. As I said earlier, original ideas are preferred, but a great idea coming back can still be very fun. The only major issue I have with the ice staff is the lack of indication when it's fully charged. For whatever reason, there is no audio or visual cue when your staff is charged with 3 rounds of ammo, which is by far the best method for getting kills. The ability to flip the staff around and use that as a projectile revive on your teammates is a fun addition, but in reality not the most helpful thing in the world due to how powerful field upgrades are. Either way, the staff didn't need to be the most unique weapon ever. It's fun to use, very good, and has an enjoyable quest to obtain and upgrade it. Well, at least most of it. The main part of the Easter egg begins by building the staff. You need to kill the first mimic on round 8 to obtain the monocle, allowing you to see the lights within the hieroglyphs. By shooting a few lanterns, one will eventually spawn in each of the hieroglyph rooms, allowing you to begin the step. You must shoot the Roman numeral symbols in order, which then begins an easy but somewhat lengthy lockdown challenge. After this, you must go into the Dark Ether and protect the staff while you upgrade it. And for some reason, this challenge is way too difficult. Now, I am always a fan of challenge in zombies, especially within Easter eggs, but difficulty needs to scale. What I mean by this is the egg should get progressively harder throughout, building anticipation and stress by the time you reach the boss fight. And in this case, the hardest part up until the boss fight is about a third of the way through the Easter egg, which is not how it should be. This lockdown challenge spawns in an absurd amount of parasites that snipe the player while trying to protect the staff, which also takes a very long time to complete. With this step being so early in the egg, I was typically getting to it by round 10 or 11, meaning that my gun was probably green and I had a single shield slot. After managing to build the staff, you then have to shoot 3 lanterns around the map with the ice staff in under 10 seconds. Then you go into the Dark Ether where you have to shoot 3 rocks with symbols on them. Memorize these symbols and shoot them into whatever teleporter closed on your map. If you successfully did this, you will be teleported on top of a rock where you can begin the final step before upgrading the staff. You and everyone in your game must escort the dark energy in a circle until it eventually loops back into the structure in the middle of the Dark Ether, which allows you to interact and finally unlock the upgraded ice staff. Next, the remaining parts of the Easter egg require the player to complete 4 rituals around the map. They go in the order Vermin, Parasite, Doppelgast, and Amalgam. Unfortunately, these rituals are very easy, and for some reason don't get increasingly harder. You would expect the Amalgam ritual to be the most difficult, but it actually wasn't. Despite them all being pretty easy, I would rank the difficulty of these steps from the least to most challenging as Vermin, then Amalgam, then Parasite, then Doppelgast. The Amalgam ritual requires the player to vanquish one extra buff Amalgam, but given the upgraded Ice Staff, it's very easy. I ranked the Parasite ritual higher because it took some coordination when playing in co-op. You have to shoot certain glowing parasites that drop these electricity orbs and return them to the altar. Either way, all of these rituals were a bit too easy in my opinion, especially given that the step to actually acquire the Ice Staff gave me and my friends much more trouble. But that could entirely be a skill issue on my part. After completing these rituals, you are finally ready for the boss fight, and this is probably where my biggest disagreement with the community comes from. But before we get into that, I'd like you to consider subscribing to my channel. I post 2 high quality zombies videos every month, and your support is the reason that I'm able to do this, so I really appreciate it. I personally think the Tombs boss fight is incredible and the best in Black Ops 6 by a decent margin. And to elaborate on that, I have a clip from Mr. T-Lexify's review of the Tomb that I have some strong opinions about.
Here we have the boss fight, obviously, of the map, and it's just insane to me because we go from a massive, amazing Kraken to even the Panos lockdown with a lot of lore, and then also to the amazing Stone Guardian that we saw in Citadel. And then this map, we're fighting a piece of furniture. We're fighting the Sentinel artifact. This is a mirror.
First of all, he highlighted the previous boss fights in Black Ops 6 as reasons why this fight is subpar in his opinion. Yet the other boss fights in this game aren't that great. Terminus does have a very strong fight against Patient 13, which is designed well and very fun in my opinion. But then he praises the Liberty Falls boss fight, which is mid at best.
I just think that the payoff of this map is just not it. And it really does feel like maps like Liberty Falls do this map better.
On Liberty Falls, you are stuck in the Dark Ether church room as you face hordes of Manglers and Abominations, which are already the boss zombies of Liberty Falls. The part of the fight that is fun is just how tight the spacing is, especially with 4 players. However, the lack of an actual boss just makes it feel like the Pack-a-Punch holdout room on Gorod Krovi. I don't think the Liberty Falls boss fight is horrible, it's just uninspired. There is no new location to fight in, no unique system of gameplay, and no real boss enemy. So it baffles me why he thinks the Liberty Falls boss fight is better than the Tombs. After that, Lex praises Citadel de Mor's boss fight, which I also don't think is that good.
While I think this boss fight is challenging, it's not fun like the Citadel de Mor boss fight.
Yes, Citadel's fight is by far the coolest looking on Black Ops 6 so far, which is important, but the gameplay itself is not that great, especially in co-op. Me and my friends completed the Citadel de Mor Easter egg without following any tutorials, and we easily beat the boss on our first attempt. And to be honest, we are not that good at zombies. The Guardian only has a couple of moves, and we figured out if one player just parries his attacks with a sword and the other shoots him, it's very easy. As I said, this boss fight looks sick, but the gameplay is underdeveloped. In my opinion, boss fights should be difficult, but having a wide open area where the boss either stomps or jumps on you is easy to avoid and not that challenging. For such a great map and Easter egg, I thought Citadel's boss was underwhelming, but apparently Lex disagrees. Finally, in this clip, he refers to the Sentinel artifact as,
and then this map, we're fighting a piece of furniture. We're fighting the Sentinel artifact. This is a mirror.
I find the whole piece of furniture comment to be pretty funny because it's true, you are literally fighting an object, but I don't think that matters because the gameplay is both unique and hard. Treyarch's boss fights are almost always designed as this big monster that you have to take down, which is fun and when well executed can be amazing, but I love to see them actually try something different. On top of that, the progression of difficulty is actually designed very well in this fight. You start with the first Sentinel artifact and work your way up to 5, with the 5th one being attached attached to an increasingly difficult boss zombie. Other boss fights in this game fail at this progression. The Terminus fight more or less stays the same throughout. The Liberty Falls fight throws more difficult bosses at you, but it's fairly easy start to finish. And the Citadel fight shrinks the area a bit and introduces the jump attack from the boss, making it harder, but not significantly. The Tomb's boss fight actually progresses constantly. In fact, each time you do damage to the artifact's health bar, it increases in difficulty, up until the end where the player has to input as much damage as possible on a time limit, or you lose the entire game, which, in my opinion, is an amazing final step to a boss fight. Overall, I believe Mr. T-Lexify and many others in the community are entirely wrong about this unique boss fight. Yeah, it is a little weird and we are fighting an object, but having to dodge lasers to refill your ammo is a fun concept, and I'm glad they went in this direction to finally bring us a boss fight that feels innovative. Before I move on, this boss fight is pretty challenging, and in my opinion, that's the single most important aspect of a boss fight. I want to feel some stress after spending an hour or two on an Easter egg. I want to feel like I might die and have to restart the game. In my opinion, the high stakes moments in zombies are always the most fun. Now, the Tomb does have a major issue with its Easter egg that I have yet to mention, but I don't think it's as bad as everyone is saying. Mr. Waffle Waffles had this to say about the Easter egg cutscene.
I think overall, it's odd. It's a very odd cutscene, and I'm really not a fan of the way that we get info in a cutscene being like text on screen that you have to pause to read. I just don't think that that's a good experience, really, for especially casual fans. They're just not gonna bother. And I mean, this whole aesthetic of being like, find the mansion, this is your mission, feels very Modern Warfare to me, which I'm not a huge fan of. Despite the fact that I like the fact that they're sort of playing with a different medium here, it doesn't feel like zombies. It feels like a weird campaign thing.
For the most part, I agree. The cutscene feels very weird, as there is no character dialogue, and it's essentially just Sam spewing out information about the next map. In my opinion, I don't think this cutscene was intentionally this bland, but rather a result of the voice actor strikes and AI controversy going on in Black Ops 6, which is a whole other story in itself. Essentially, voice actors are leaving projects as they are being underpaid by their employers, and many Call of Duty characters are wrapped up in this issue. So likely, a few of the main Zombies crew members are refusing to work for Call of Duty at the moment, or they are in the process of being replaced, which would explain why there's only one voice within this cutscene. I personally don't put too much blame on Treyarch for this cutscene, as it seems more like Activision gave them no choice. It essentially became an exposition dump for the next map, which is the goal of these cutscenes anyway. The next key portion of a Zombies map is the gameplay mechanics, and unfortunately, this is a weak point for the Tomb. First of all, the map unique traps are a bit underwhelming. The arrows are cool, but not memorable by any means, and despite the use of the lanterns for the Easter egg, they are pretty bad at actually taking out zombies. The boss zombies on this map are quite enjoyable in my opinion, but I wish there was a little less to deal with. Having parasites, vermin, amalgams, doppelgas, and mimics all on the same map is a bit overkill. While I prefer each and every one of these bosses to manglers and abominations, I'm starting to get a bit annoyed about how many maps amalgams are on. I'm glad they reworked mimics for Black Ops 6, as I don't find them as annoying as I did in Cold War, but still, having two enemies on this map that can grab you is extremely annoying. I personally think the Tomb would benefit from removing amalgams. The 100% brand new perk In-Depth Perception absolutely sucks, as it always has. So, like everyone else, I'm confused as to why it made a return. Unlike the mechanics, the replayability of the Tomb is another strength. The map is quite small, which for me personally usually helps with replayability. Like many of you, my most played BO6 map so far is Liberty Falls, due to its simplicity and casual vibe whenever I want to grind camos or just relax. Now that we have the tomb, it might actually rival Liberty Falls as my go-to casual map. It's small and simplistic, plus I like the boss zombies quite a bit more. Also, the tomb has the best side Easter egg in Black Ops 6 so far. The gold armor quest can actually be very challenging, and the reward is something worth doing every single game. Getting regenerative armor is extremely useful and almost a need for how difficult the boss fight is. I hope Treyarch continues crafting side Easter eggs that have major impacts on the rest of your game. Side eggs like shooting the rocks and the dark ether are fun and provide helpful rewards, but it more so saves you time than actually giving you something of immense value. Other side Easter eggs that I found to be a lot of fun are the skeleton skull and jump scare eggs. However, I do wish Treyarch made more team-driven side Easter eggs like the boats on Terminus and bowling on Liberty Falls. In the end, the tomb's atmosphere gets a 9, the layout gets a 10, the Easter egg gets an 8.5, the mechanics get a 5, and the replayability gets an 8. Overall, the tomb gets a score of 8.3 out of 10. I thoroughly enjoyed this map, and I thought Treyarch took a lot of steps in the right direction, specifically in the boss fight department. But either way, I'm not too sure the future of Black Ops 6's Easter eggs are looking good, which is exactly what I talked about in my previous video. The BO6 Easter egg situation is insane. If you're not subscribed yet, please consider subscribing. If you already are, thank you so much, and all of you have an amazing day. Goodbye.